Okay. Okay. So today, last 8 classes, we have seen the first two parts, the Adhishtanam, foundational premises, and the Prayanam. Prayanam across Janmas and Prayanam within a Janma also we saw. All these we saw in the last two classes. Now for the rest, last two, sections. Now the remaining 4 sessions, we will get into how do we spend in every Janma? How do we transact? How do we, what kind of things that we need to do and so on. So I call it as Vyavaharikam. So today we will look at this notion of Purusharthas. So that is what we want to do today. Okay, I think a good starting point for this thinking and discussion is what are the goals that we want to pursue in our life? This is the question. What do we want to achieve in life? This is become a very, very important question. I think everybody all over the world will be talking about it all the time. So we will also spend some time to understand this. So what are our goals in life? That's the question. And that's a question which many of us are anyway, fixed on. So let me take you through a list. Well, people say, I want to, they are young and they are in the stage of brahmacharya, studying stage, they will say, I want to study and get valuable degree that fetches me a good job. Or people have moved into Grihastha Ashrama, they say, I want to have security in life. Of course, we want to have a happy family, good life partner, top professional. I want to be a top professional. I want to be an entrepreneur. Or people say, I want to be very famous, powerful, rich, ... We also say, well, I want to own a lot of movable and immovable assets and so on. So, if you ask anybody, you sit down and then ask yourself, I think it will be 2-3 out of this list, or even if you say something, it will be in some ways connected to this list. So this is how we are trained and we are coached, and our thinking process is like this. And today most of us pursue goals like this, right? But there are also other goals that we pursue. For example, I want to enjoy good health. I want to take care of parents and elders, be useful to the society. I want to be a happy and a contented person, leave behind a great legacy, preserve rich traditions, culture. I want to know who am I, put an end to the birth and death cycle. These goals, as the bullet goes down, the number of people who actually think about it also come down. So I have the goals. Now I have divided them into two. One I call it as active goals, and another I call it as shadow goals. So why am I doing that? The shadow goals are goals which I believe we are not actively pursuing. We are incidentally pursuing. If you ask me, no, sir, how do you say that? Now, the biggest proof is a vast majority of people in the world today have risked their health and gone after being successful in profession, which means that although I want to enjoy good health is a goal, it's not an active goal. If it had been an active goal, I would not have found myself in a mess today, as I have seen. Diabetes, hypertension, all kinds of occupational diseases and so on. All these is showing how many of us are actually pursuing actively, saying who am I. We may do it after everything is over. If we have nothing else to do, we may start thinking about it at the age of 70, 80, I do not know. Or how many of us are seriously saying that we will put an end to the birth and death cycle. In other words, the shadow goals are desirable list that I can add to my set of goals, but I have downgraded them. I have prioritized them slightly lower. Well, knowingly, unknowingly, that's not the issue. The point is I have prioritized them much lower. Whereas the active goals are those I am very active. I go after it, I measure, I check whether I am doing it. If I'm not doing it, it upsets me. I sort of find out what to do to get back. All that we do. So that's why I have artificially divided them into active goals and shadow goals. Now this is how we will today, there may be variations from here, but this is what we will do. And this is what we teach our youngsters. This is what we tell our, we go to a professional career and everywhere they will talk only this. So this is the situation today. How did our ancestors look at this issue? Of course, they also wanted to have goals. Who said only now this idea of goal setting and all that is important, as if our ancestors were aimlessly wandering without goals? I think all of us had goals. So let us find out how did they go about this process. So they came with this idea called Purusharthas. So if you want me to translate the word Purushartha into English, I think the nearest word is goals of life. That's what I think we can think of. So the Sanatana Dharma view of goals of life is expressed through what is called Purusharthas. So our ancestors talked about 4 of them. I mean, these words are very familiar to us, to a lot of us, but we have not dwelled deeper into it. That's a problem with a lot of Sanatana Dharma terms that we have, which we have been realizing it from the beginning. So Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. These are the 4 dashboard. If I have to use a management terminology, our ancestors had a goals of life. In management we teach what is called balanced scorecard. There are 4 things. This is what we teach now in the top management. Everybody, we tell them there should be a balanced scorecard. The scorecard of life. This is the balanced scorecard for life, if I have to use a word like that. It's a balanced scorecard. There are 4 parameters according to our ancestors, and the 4 parameters, and each one of them we must have a few bullets, and this is our key performance metric. So our goals of life is not I want to be famous, and that's just one of the 4 scorecard that we have here actually. So they said Dharma, Artha. We are going to see them in detail, so that's why I'm not going to really explain what Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha and all that now. Merely I am introducing, saying that our ancestors said our goals of life must be looked at in a dashboard. The dashboard must have 4 sort of pillars, and the 4 pillars are called Dharma, Artha, Kama and Moksha. Now what is really happening is, if you read Sanatana Dharma literature, in our ancient literature and so on, there are typically 2 words used whenever you talk of Purushartha. One is called Trivarga, another is called Apavarga. Now we need to understand this. Trivarga is understandable. Varga is a variety or whatever, and Trivarga is 3 of them. So Trivarga, Dharma, Artha and Kama is called Trivarga, and Moksha is called Apavarga. Apa in Sanskrit, see this upasarga, Apa means away. The upasarga upa means near. That's why they say Upanayanam. Upanayanam is in India, at least I don't know what is happening in the US and other places. In India it is a 20 lakh budget today. Upanayanam means you have to hire a big hall. Of course with Corona we can't do it now. Otherwise you have a big hall, get a 8 square meal or something, and then call people. That's not Upanayanam. Upanayanam means take the boy closer to the truth. Nayanam means leading. Upa is closer. So Upanayanam means lead the boy closer to the truth through what is called a Brahma Updesa and so on. Anyway, whereas Apa means away. So this is called Apavarga. In a way, it says it is a little away from this. Away meaning or a different route, or whichever way you want to say. The reason is, in the first Trivarga, they are all related to one another. They will sort of synergize with one another, and then you can build it. Whereas the idea of a moksha is, if the Trivarga is done well and if you are satisfied, you say enough is enough in Trivarga, then you start turning your attention towards moksha. That's why it is called apavarga. Until you have a desire, you have a kama and the artha and all that, and so you need a plane of dharma in which you have to operate all that. The motivation for moksha will be less. So in a way, after you are done with trivarga, done meaning, I mean, it's not that all our dharma will drop. It doesn't mean that. It has a subtle meaning. Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, "Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja. Aham tva sarva papebhyah mokshayishyami ma shuchah." That means slightly different. But in a vyavaharika plane, it doesn't mean you give up all these. It means you have learned to live with it in a very manageable way. It is not going to distract you in any ways. Therefore, you turn your attention towards moksha. So that's why it is called trivarga and apavarga. So that's another term used. So I thought I will, familiarize you with that term also. Okay. So this Purushartha itself has two contrasting views. The first view is Sanatana Dharma position. And what does it mean? It means that leave the apavarga for the moment. We look at only the trivarga, because this discussion makes a lot of sense for the trivarga. But for the sake of completeness, I brought all the four here. Take the trivarga. Sanatana Dharma is very clear. It says the sopana, the steps cannot be altered at all. What does it mean? Dharma, dharmasya anusarena artha, dharma arthasya anusarena kama. What it means? The foundation is dharma. Now, as per dharma, you acquire wealth. Artha also has a different meaning. At the moment, I'm using a narrow meaning. So, according to dharma, have wealth. According to whatever wealth you got, according to dharma, and you sort of have your desires constrained by that. So, in other words, this is a strict order. You cannot say, I will change this order. It is dharma followed by artha followed by kama. This is the one view, which is the Sanatana Dharma view. Then there is another view, which seems to be a certain dominant paradigm in certain quarters of living. Here, it is exactly ulta. First, you say you have unlimited desire. Why are you trying to limit your desire? Why are you unnecessarily doing all that? You want to have a iPhone 8C? Don't worry. It's 70,000, not a problem. Why are you worried? You first say you want to have an iPhone 8C. Then let's work around it. So you start there. You say I want to have a Porsche. I want to have this. You say whatever you want to say. So that is called kama. You start. You don't have to curtail your desire. Then kamasya anusarena artha. Now, if you have to get it, find out how to earn that much money. And that means sometimes you have to do things which you do not want to do, because you are under pressure. You want it. If you want to fulfill all these desires, you need more money. There's no free lunch. So therefore, now you need more money. So you find out how to get money. Now the American concept has told us, don't even bother about it. If you don't have money, I'll give you credit card and EMIs and mortgages and so on. So you have unlimited desire, and we will fund all your desire. Now let us see what this corona is going to do. At least in my understanding, 60% of home loans that was given for houses in India, there will be no EMIs paid. Let them do whatever they want to do with that inventory of vehicles and houses. This is what this kama artha root means. One catastrophe comes, it will collapse. And if you can satisfy the kama and the artha without violating dharma, keep dharma. If there is a slight adjustment that we have to make the dharma, let us do it, because the order is reversed now. This is not only today's paradigm, it is also called Charvaka philosophy, because even in ancient times there were people like this. So look at here, this is the Charvaka philosophy. Yavat jivet sukham jivet. Rinam kritva gritam pibet. That rinam kritva gritam pibet is that credit card industry. See, as long as you live, you enjoy life. And if you don't have money, go on credit. Rinam kritva ghritam pibet. Drink ghee. I mean, drink ghee means spend lavishly. Basmi bhutasya dehasya punaragamanam kutah. There is only one life. Where is the second life? There is only one life. So kamaha ekaha eva purushartah. Kama eva praninam karanam. Mula karanam, bhuta karanam, everything. In fact, this model that we are pursuing today, have a credit card industry, have a EMI, buy whatever you want to buy, all those will make eminent sense if you agree there is only one life. Better enjoy and go. Moment you replace that one life paradigm with our karma theory, then this will go fat. This is a very bad, because this has a serious behavioral complications. Because I have to fulfill my desire and I have to start making money will induce a lot of behavioral complications in me. Therefore, for a one life model, this may work. If you want to go with Punarjanma, this is simply not going to work. What will work is what our ancestors said. So I thought I wanted to just give this this thing. Importance of Purusharthas are there everywhere. If you go anywhere, you will find it. This is from Ramayanam, Valmiki Ramayanam. Okay, this is from the Kishkinda Kanda, 38th Sarga. Hitva dharmam tatartham cha kamam yastu nishevate sa vrikshagre yata suptah patitah pratibudhyate. Rama is actually, when Sugriva, for a moment after Rama's help, Sugriva, I think, was a little bit, he took it a little easy. At that time, Rama, Lakshmana and Rama were angry. I think it's coming somewhere there. So what it says, Hitva dharmam, tata artham cha. So, you neglect dharma and followed by artha. Kamam yastu nishevate, you go after desire. You simply go after desire. Such a person, Rama says, how that person will be like? Saha vrikshagre yata suptaha patitaha pratibudhyate. It is like some fellow who is sleeping on the top of the tree, waking up only to realize that he has fallen. Because in the deep sleep, his indriyas, he lost his control. So he got himself into a mess and then he finds he is actually down. So this kamam will do exactly that. So therefore, even Ramayana alone, I can get you 150 shlokas only on dharma. That gets very voluminous. Anyway, I thought I will just show you one or two from Ramayana today.